Hey guys, I am recording outside today. I thought to, enjoy the weather here in Los Angeles. It's so beautiful, guys. Um, but yes, I had the absolute privilege of attending the 23rd Annual Neurotech Conference last week here in LA. And I thought I'll make a short video series about some of the presentations that really stood out to me during this event. And let's kickstart with the first presentation or the first video of this series. And this presentation was done by Dr. Anthony Chang, who is the Chief Innovation Officer and Medical Director at the Sharon Disneyland's Medical Intelligence and Innovation Institute in the Children's Hospital of Orange County. Amazing, amazing, amazing person. And he spoke about how to stay human in the age of AI. And basically, it's a framework for the future neuroscientist. Why did this presentation stand out to me so much? Because as you know, guys, recently I was part of a panel where I spoke about, how AI is evolving the global landscape in the world of IP law, intellectual property. So this was like, okay, I was like all in. I'm like ready to take my notes. And having said that, I do have my notes with me. Okay, so he spoke about three evolution phases of AI in health. The first one is called Health AI 1.0, which was from 2010 till 2020. And this was the era of computational intelligence, and it was very machine dominant. So this was the era of machine learning, deep learning, where AI was being trained on labeled data sets in order for it to learn and recognize different patterns. And AI was being operated as a standalone tool. And the problem was it was separate from the clinical workflow. And the human role was to mostly just supervise it and, validate the outputs. The biggest challenge was that the tacit clinical knowledge was being largely ignored. And the machine sort of didn't know what it didn't know. You know what I mean? And it was powerful, yet brittle, if that makes sense. So it was narrow, task specific, and it just really couldn't generalize. However, now in AI, in Health 2.0, which we are in right now currently, this is from 2020 till 2030. And this would be called the era of convolutional intelligence, where machine and human are working together in synergy. Now, this is the era of agentic and generative and agentic AI. And now AI can reason, generate, plan, and take like multi-step actions. And this is where humans and machines have started really working together. And AI has moved away from just doing pattern recognition to really supporting decisions, like being used as a decision support and workflow integration. AI is being embedded more deeply into clinical systems, like, for example, EHRs, diagnostics, treatment planning. And however, there is a risk. And the risk is that humans may over-delegate, thus losing critical judgment. Now let's go to AI 3.0. This is the one that really, really, really got me interested. And this would be the era of cognitive intelligence, where humans would be dominant again. Interesting, right? I'll tell you why. This will begin in 2030 and beyond. So this is the era of digital twins and cognitive architecture, where your biological data is not just going to be modeled, rather it's going to be like a living dynamic system. And personalized medicine is going to be at a large scale. And in here, AI is not just going to be assisting, rather, it's going to be continuously learning your physiology. So imagine, OMG, imagine where that is, going when it comes to all of these, different illnesses and, from within. And it's going to be amazing. And the human is going to become dominant again in this era. Why? Because the complexity of the AI models in this era is going to require human interpretation and the ethical stewardship. AI won't be able to do it on its own. It's just not possible. And the questions that are going to be asked in this era are basically the ones we don't even have language for yet. And it's going to be in a new part, in a quadrant of the quadrant. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a bit. But basically, this is where AI in neuroscience, and not just neuroscience, I think AI and healthcare are going to fully converge. Now, there are three different collaboration models that that Dr. Chang spoke about. Now, these collaboration models are between the human and AI. And the first one is called pure AI. And this is where AI makes like most of the decisions. Human is just supervising. And this is where the tacit clinical knowledge is ignored. And it's sort of like a bolted on system. Then there is the cyborg. So that's this end. Then there's cyborg on the other end, where AI is fused into cognition and the boundaries have become blurred and there's a shared authority. So when it comes to pure AI, the authority structure was AI dominant. However, in the cyborg, there is a shared simultaneous authority structure. And when it comes to boundary, the human AI boundary in pure AI is very clear. However, in the cyborg, it's not clear. It's blurred. The ideal collaboration model is the one that sits right in the center, right in the middle. And that's called that's called a centaur. So a centaur is, imagine that half horse, half human creature, the mystical creature. And this is where human and AI basically work together as strategic partners, where there's clear boundaries and the human judgment basically stays in control. And the tacit knowledge is preserved in this collaboration model. So there's so much growth that can come out from it. Now, let's talk about the matrix. I'm going to post a video of the matrix. And on the x-axis, we have the answers from old to new. And then on the y-axis, we have questions from old to new. And we are mostly in the old questions, old answers quadrant. And this is where we're using AI sort of like a search engine. So we're asking questions that where the knowledge already is present, right? For example, hey, what's the best Italian restaurant near me, and stuff like that. Or make me this, make me that. So everything is done on existing knowledge. And then where do we want to go? We want to go towards new questions and new answers. This is at the top right-hand corner. And this is the frontier, guys. Once we go more into this quadrant, this will consist of questions we couldn't even have been able to formulate before AI. And then entirely emergent discoveries are going to be taking place. Now, let's talk a little bit about my views on this. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm an applied AI engineer and a biomedical neuroscientist. Now, the thing that I've noticed is that most AI in health is still being built either by AI engineers who don't understand the brain or the body, the basically health, or It's being built by neuroscientists or medical professionals who don't understand AI architecture, right? Now, the Centaur model only works if the human half is actually qualified to interrogate that AI's outputs. So you can't just close your eyes and just be trusting whatever it's outputting you. You need to have that domain expertise to be able to challenge it. Like, hey, AI is telling me this, but so on and so forth. And that requires deep domain fluency, not just clinical experience. So this is exactly why applied healthcare, neuroscience, and applied AI engineering must exist in the same team that is building or doing research in that particular area. Now, Health AI 2.0, this is where bespoke client-owned models are being trained on proprietary biological data, and this is going to become the main differentiator. So those generic models that are trained on population data, they will never reach the Centaur threshold. You need individualized, high fidelity input data to generate really clinically meaningful outputs. The brands and those brands and institutions that own their own biometric data pipelines now will be the ones that will be truly operating in that new questions, new answers quadrant that we spoke about. Now, Dr. Chang's framework really assumes that the human brings something that the machine cannot replicate, and that is intuition, for sure, tacit knowledge, ethical judgment, pattern recognition across domains. So the future neuroscientist he is describing isn't the one who just masters the tool. Rather, it's the one who knows what questions to ask before the tool even exists. That curiosity is necessary. It's key. So for me, I build models trained on the brain's own data. And what Dr. Chang confirmed for me in this presentation is that the architecture of the model matters less than the intelligence of the human directing it. Interesting. So that's not a limitation of AI, guys. That is the entire point. So AI and humans need to work hand in hand. And once we hit that perfect balance, we will be able to boost into that new question, new answers quadrant and making huge strides in medical discoveries. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you in the next video.